Why is shame such a powerful emotion? How does it affect us mentally, physically, emotionally? I'm Nadia Davis. I'm a mom, author, attorney, and Kundalini yoga teacher who has experienced public shaming that brought me to my knees. On this podcast, I'm going to tell you how I'm living the work taking shame out of the shadows. I'll give you real-life advice and skills to take away with you throughout your day. You'll hear from powerful guests who have overcome trauma and emerged stronger than ever. You too can ban the shame within and around you. Join me. You are not alone. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for today because we have Dr. Stephen Poulter, a regular guest, and we are going to dive into his new book, Modern Masculinity, a compassionate guidebook to men's mental health. I am extremely passionate about supporting him getting this book out and was so honored to be at his standing room only book launch event because the work that he is doing, I believe, is the full tie-in circle to healing the entire world. I have gotten to a point in life of my own healing and my own self-acceptance and building a home within me that is described in the book, Home is Within You, to later in the book get to a point where it's like I'm a mother of 3 sons, and the messages that I gained in my healing that I want to share with my sons is in modern masculinity. I am not a doctor. I'm a mother with a heart, and I am a survivor of certain relationships. But any gender that's out there, please know we can get out of the blame game. We can get to a bigger place where we see there is a wounded child in each and every one of us. And I am so passionate about the work that he's doing because the focus today is to really help all 3 of my sons and to also fully support a partner in my life that I know will be there and come in having his own compassionate view within himself. And so, Dr. Poulter, introduce us to modern masculinity, and thank you so much for inviting me to your book launch, and congratulations.
Thank you, Nadia. It's a pleasure. I'm glad. First of all, it's great to know you, and knowing you. And secondly, uh, it was friends and family, and you're part of the friends and family circle. And I felt like I needed to share the book with my family and friends about men and our journey, and that we can do this. We can turn the corner. There's been the rugged man masculinity model. You see it on TV, even the television show Modern Family, where the father can't really express his emotions, and he has his stepson. He does Manny, and doesn't know how to talk to him. And his gay son doesn't know how to relate to his. It's Gentlemen, we can be emotionally intelligent, and through this comes understanding. And without seeing the naughty before, the goal of modern masculinity, it's not about what you look like. It's not your body type. It's not your muscles. It's not your net worth. It's what's inside of you. And that's where your book comes in, Nadia, about the home within, because it's all within us. And as men get civilized and understand their lives within them, this gets a lot better outside. Things improve. It's dramatically better. And men cannot do this without women. We need women. The war is not with women and men. It's men with men. And your support, Nadia, of your 3 sons will do more for them than pretty much anything. Because having your mother's support as a man allows you to go out in the world. Having your father's understanding gives you the courage to stay out in the world. You need both.
Interesting.
You need both. To leave the courtyard of mom's home, you need her to say, go do this.
We are in this together.
Right. We're in this together. And fathers say to the son, you've got the courage to stay out there and make this work. And when the son returns, they say in mythology, comes back as a black knight, a man of wisdom, and realizes to settle conflict isn't with force, but with understanding. And empathy is the ability to understand the other person. A Marine is not a black knight. An admiral is a black knight because he's able to work with people and understand them. A diplomat. And that's what every mother wants their son to become. But the boy has to leave his mom, and women that support their son's growth know this and launch them. And fathers are along the way encouraging them to stay out there and do the work. So modern masculinity, we talked about that. So now should I break down the four horsemen that every son needs to?
What is
Yeah.
modern masculinity and this guidebook for men's mental
Okay.
health?
I have the definition.
I'm
And
holding it up.
I think
If someone asks you,
the definition is having a core self. Modern masculinity is humility, a core self, acceptance, along with the fortitude to protect, take responsibility for your life, and do the things that it's in your world. And what's modern is the ability to bring in that 25 to 50% of the life that men don't include. It's just not your body, but it's your emotional life and your relationship life. That 50% is what's modern, is that they're all related. There's no longer cubicles. They're not segregated, not segmented. They're all related.
and when you have had
yes,
this aha moment in the beginnings of your inspiration to write this book, it was this whole 50% or other half that you observed over your years of experience that in a
absolutely.
nutshell was
Do you
didn't
know,
have enough focus.
I think what's freaking me out, strong word, but like during the shutdown, all this male bashing and to cancel out men. I was like, no. We're going the wrong way. Guys, we need to pause. Gentlemen,
Right.
our bodies are talking to us. If we're listening to our bodies, we're listening to our actions. If we're listening to our actions, we're going to make better decisions. That's what drove me.
Right.
Because that, as I shared on Sunday, today, on Friday, before 10 p.m. tonight, 1,000 men over the age of 30 will have a heart attack. Of that 1,000, 900 will die. Of that 900, less than 10% had pre-existing health conditions. But the other 90% had emotional issues that never got addressed. It broke their body down. It killed them.
Right. And the shaming and the bashing of how men have handled their emotions is not the way to go.
Correct.
Modern masculinity is
Is
compassion,
swimming
empathy.
upstream.
This
Those
isn't
non-starters.
excusing any behavior.
Yeah.
This is the solution.
The other part of this is the brotherhood. Men need men. Sisters get that. Women get that. The sisterhood takes care of each other. They support each other. Whether it be mommy and me, a book club, just friends get together and have coffee. And they just talk. Just talk. And with men, tend not to be that transparent. And some of the, what I realized with modern masculinity, some of the non-starters for men are these statements like, take it like a man. Real men don't cry. This one always gets me. Man up. Keep it to yourself. Crying shows weakness. See, that's a huge myth that we take on in the beginning of the book. Weakness is denial. Strength is embracing what's in front of you, what's inside of you. And no amount of money will ever shake that off because that's outside of you. What's inside of you is first and foremost to address. That doesn't mean you spend your life wallowing, but you don't spend your life ignoring. Two big differences.
To bring that alive, you are saying men need real, authentic relationships with other men.
Correct. hands down. So often you hear guys say to you, "Come on, get a grip on yourself." These things happen to everybody. It's the idea that there's a shame that you feel stuff because men are put men in a straight jacket where you can just feel anger. Anything
Mm-hmm.
else, you're gay. You're not gay. Gay has nothing to do with masculinity. Okay, that's a sexual orientation. A masculine orientation has nothing to do with gay or straight. It has to do with who you are as a person.
Right.
And that's one of the big blind spots. And in modern masculinity, I discussed that. This is not about gay or straight men. This is about who you are as a person. And if you're a good man, Nadia, women aren't scared of you. They're going to respect you, but they're not going to be afraid of you. And if a woman's afraid of you, something's wrong. And I'm talking legitimately. I'm not talking like but just in a genuine sense, like, because that means they're part of you that's not integrated. And that's what modern masculinity is about. And shame, absolutely shame is the thing is I can't be vulnerable. Because if I'm vulnerable, I'm weak. And if maybe they'll see what's wrong with me. Well, at the end of the day, we all have shortcomings. And when I find guys that are really rageful, I know it's a common question, but I always ask them, tell me about your dad. Tell me about your dad. What did your dad say to you? Did you feel like your dad believed in you? And Nadia, 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10, they didn't know him, no relationship with him, or something's wrong. Because you and I identify with the same sex parent. You identify with your mom, I identify with my father. Then we have our cross parent, which is so important too. We need both.
And in those critical ages, where was the safe place to share, cry, and be vulnerable and connect with feelings? For most
Mm-hmm.
male identifying folks out there, I don't know if that was there. And what you're saying, I mean, it started in childhood. So it was like
Right.
a trained thing to not nurture that relationship or that
Within
self-awareness
you.
of
Within
emotions.
you.
Right.
Because I remember I taught as a young man, I remember on a Saturday afternoon, we're at the school, like in elementary school. There's like 40 guys down there playing football, whatever. I'm like, where are all the dads? It's like I'm like 12 years old and everything. Where are the dads? Not the moms. Where are the dads? They were around, but they weren't involved. And
Mhm.
that's not, we're not bashing dads, by the way. Not all this is
We're not
not blaming,
bashing.
because blame leads to one place only, and that's despair. We're talking about forgiveness, taking action, and finding out what's inside of you.
And
And
looking at the map, just looking
yeah,
at what is,
yeah.
right? It's not bashing. It's like
Mm-mm.
what was around me as a child.
It not. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and to talk about emotions, I can't tell you when people said to me, "Come on, you know, always calling by my last name, Poulter. Come on, don't be that guy. You're too
Mhm.
sensitive. I mean, we don't do that. I don't think that way." Well, we all think that way. You just can't keep pushing it down. And so many guys, and part of modern masculinity, there's nothing wrong with a career or making money. In fact, that's being responsible. The problem is when you think that'll do all this, and,
Mhm.
and your book talks about home within, about healing, creating a safe place, creating a lovely metaphorical family room, a place you can come and sit and be comfortable and get recharged. It's
But
not
see,
outside the
as
house.
someone that identifies as a woman, the only way that I was able
Mm-hmm.
to look at my past male relationships, my father, and all of those things was by creating that space within me. Then I could say, there is a whole human being. And these men, over what, 52 years of my life, each
Mm-hmm.
had their own relationship with their emotions or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And that's where anyone that does not identify as the masculine or man, to get to a point where we can support those that do and heal the world overall is to see in our self-acceptance and self-compassion, we can
Mm-hmm.
look through those eyes at the masculine and say, there's a
Get,
little boy within them, dear sons of the world, who was there for you.
90% or 95% of men identify as men. But what they don't identify with is their emotional body or their psychological body or their spiritual body. I think identifying with your orientation, that's easy. I'm easy in the sense that, okay, you got to do that. But identifying with your emotional body, your spiritual body, your relationships, who you are, that is groundwork. That's the work of the work.
Wow.
Identifying with your emotional body. Because when I talk about there's different types of there's 5 different types of masculine. There's your body, masculinity. There's your emotional masculinity, relationships, your divine, and also who you are. All of it, all parts of who you are as a person. And not
Say
even,
that again.
yeah, that 5 pieces, 20% each. You know, I'll have guys come in and say, well, I don't really, I'm not an emotional guy. Well, that's not true. Let me stab you with a knife and you'll be very emotional. You're repressed, you may not be reactive. That doesn't mean you don't have them. And not one thing, emotions are nuclear energy. You manage it, it serves you well. If you mismanage it, it can kill you. And that 900 men that die today, uh, over 90% of them never dealt with this. Well-meaning, loving, caring, take care of their kids, their wife, their dogs, their friends, but they were disconnected. And that, Nadia, drove me. Because
I see,
shame,
like, the urge of it, all of this
like, come on, guys, we can do
emotions
this.
you
Yeah,
saw was not being looked at is all carried physically,
right.
and
And
these stats
that's where the
say
book
something.
starts. Yeah. As a
Got
woman having babies, see, I think women are really good this way in a lot of ways. Like, if you don't have babies, women know intuitively, I gotta take care of my body. I really, to an extent where men won't go to the doctors unless their arms flying off or they can't have sex. And then they have time to go to the doctor. It's either a limb's falling off or I can't have sex. Okay, I'm going. But all the other road signs are ignored. High blood pressure, gaining weight, all this stuff.
So modern masculinity begins
With
with this is a call to action because all of this
Yeah,
is being carried in the male body.
correct. It starts with your health. Now, I'm not. I eat cleaner than I ever have. Living a cleaner lifestyle. But your health, I tell guys, if they have a back surgery, it's more than your spine. It's more than your DNA. There's also emotions. I've had some
Mhm,
guys have neck surgery. They feel like they're carrying the weight of the world and it's breaking their neck.
mhm,
Chinese medicine says for every illness, there's an emotional component. The
absolutely.
dis-ease. The ease is we're healthy. It flows through. The dis-ease is that something's wrong. Something's off. I know when I get sick, I get run down. It's my body. I'm doing too much. Tell me, time out. You're overextended. My sinuses are really bad. I'm Yes, it's seasonal, but I know when I'm too tired because I might have a hard time saying no. I say yes too much, and I always joke with my wife, that's not a bad quality. She goes, no, it's, you know, dead's not a good quality either. Like, you can't run yourself in the ground, son, honey.
So
Yeah, go
in
ahead, Noy.
general, you saw these three things,
Yes.
this
Mm-hmm.
low emotional connection awareness, this other
Mm-hmm.
50%, then the physical
Yes.
weight of that being carried in the modern man, and then the the need for more connection between men.
Right.
It was those foundations that very clearly motivate the the message for modern masculinity. So
Your
say
work,
more.
your work with home within, it's not for women only.
No.
So when I started reading your book, I was thinking, okay, guys have to read this, excuse me, need to read this because all roads lead to Rome. If you're on a healing path, you're on a healing path. You're good. You're going to deal with issues. And I also tell guys, dealing with issues is not blaming your parents, but
Every chapter begins with dear son.
right. And so that's what I start with the physical body. You know, if there's 10, if there's 100 diagnoses today of anorexia in this country, what percentage of now do you think are men? If there's 100% made today, 100 made in a medical offices of a person having anorexia, how many of those are men? What percentage? Do you think it might be?
30.
That's great. It's right on. 25 to 30. The most, one of the most common misnomers is men don't have eating disorders. They're one
Right.
third of all eating disorders.
Wow.
One third. And we're talking heterosexual men. We're not talking about the gay community.
And why is that? Because I know why I suffered with that in high school, but explain, how is that more than proof of
Because
getting
men,
the message of modern masculinity?
as men get older, there's this belief if you look a certain way, you're masculine.
Mhm.
And we're not blaming Madison Avenue advertising, but so many men think if they look a certain way, they're a man. And number two, food is nurturing, as we know. And many men don't know how to nurture themselves. And then
Mm.
and that's where it goes off the road. Because
Can so
food,
go to
it's
extremes.
emotionally, you know, I've had guys in my practice, you would never suspect they have an eating disorder. They're obsessed with their weight. Not upset, it's a defense mechanism of what's inside of them.
Right.
Their trauma, their marriage, relationship with their kids, their history.
And you
And,
see that manifested in other ways also,
oh, yes. Yeah, very
physical,
much so.
the pain, the
Mm-hmm.
and
Avoidance.
so when someone picks up the book or sees it, Modern Masculinity, a compassionate guidebook to men's mental health, and they're getting an overview. I want to read the back of your book, but what can you give us an overview? I want to of what somebody will receive. We have the practical applications to decode emotions, action steps to address and release unresolved shame and anger, ways to recalibrate your personal relationship to money, methods to set boundaries effectively and respectfully, strategies to overcome fears of intimacy, rejection, and confrontation, keys to maintaining a loving long term relationship, the importance of male relationships and their value in helping other men heal and change. Knowing that
Mm-hmm.
passion within for mental health is needed, one can look at everything physically that they are
Right.
carrying now.
Jill, and
That's the starting point for
that's a starting
recognizing.
point. Right?
Okay.
It's so funny. When you asked me that question, I thought, let me read the back of the book because that's my best summary. You know, what
There's
it,
so much in this book.
yeah. You know, and Nadia, you know, gentlemen, ladies, if you're listening to this and you have men in your life, obviously that you care about, the book's gonna be out on audiobook if it isn't already. But the key is I tell men, you want to feel better. You want to feel better. And unequivocally the answer is yes. Then let's go within and start. Let's turn on the lights. Let's open the windows. You know, let's pull the blinds back and open your life up.
How did your research on the shame factor relate? How does it relate to all of this when you're asking men to go within and turn the lights on?
100%. There's not. The shame factor is the precursor to this book. The shame factor drove me to write this book because shame is a huge block, a roadblock. Getting that out of the way, I also want to do a 360 overview because shame blocks your body, your relationships, your emotional, your IQ, your career, who you are in the world. Shame influences all those. But I wanted to talk about what those other areas are
Got it.
without shame.
So the book unpacks the various issues that stem from male shame,
Yeah,
including those surrounding anger, sexual orientation, wealth, physical performance, appearance, relationships, and much more.
correct.
The starting point, the physical weight that a man is carrying because of these unaddressed things,
Mm-hmm.
then it
Or
be
or starving themselves, or starving themselves with it. Either way, Nadia. Two, it's
this.
interesting. A lot of men don't go to the dentist. And so much bacteria is in our mouth. I've had some men get an infected heart from their lack of dental care. In my office in Brentwood, there's probably close to 100 dentists in the building. And men and women, I talk to them over the years, they're always amazed at how men don't make that connection.
So say there's a man that is very obsessed with
Yeah.
the self-care and with,
Mm-hmm.
the outer performance, with the dental, the eating healthy and all of that. Now, what would you say to someone of that sort? Is it
That's a great question.
telling? Is it telling that, "Oh, okay, then they're going within"? I don't think so.
No,
But
sometimes.
but your point is the
Mm-hmm.
what are other physical signs? There's the lack of self-care, there's the
Or a
not
high or
nurturing.
hyper focus on the physical. As I talk about some of the vignettes, there's like 32 different stories of men in the book. And some of the stories about how guys are bodybuilders. You'll look at them, they look absolutely swell. I mean, perfect, if you will, in quotes. But meanwhile, their liver doesn't work right, their kidneys are breaking down, and there's so much stuff they're repressing, and they're trying to think if I work out, I'll get this out of me. No, working out is great that your body's healthy, but that's not going to heal you emotionally or psychologically.
I
That
get
it,
it.
that's its own work. So I see someone that's
So it's
obsessed.
all of this is just the symptoms
Correct. They're all
of the
symptoms
deeper. Okay,
issue.
what other symptoms?
I think, for instance, like with the physical, is they don't go to the doctors, and or
Doctors, dentists, your
period. Because people ask me, I asked Dr. Mills, he's the one that had that quote, and he says it's about control. Men
okay.
don't want to sit there and they can't control the blood test, the results, or the EKG.
Ah,
They can't. I have.
I see.
I'm better if I don't know. No, you're not better if you don't know. You don't want to be part of that group of guys today that die, and their families are like, we have no idea. Not even
So how do
before.
you see this, like, automatic roadblock then?
Correct. And I feel like when I get guys like that, I have them all through my practice. Some are like granite, okay,
Yeah.
and some are a little softer. Some are like wood that's been exposed to water. It's softening and like it's starting to open up. Others have just been leveled. But their wife says, "I can't take you. I'm leaving. I love you, but I can't live with you. I can't be with you." Usually, the loss of a relationship gets men's attention like getting hit by lightning because that despair precedes change. And that's when guys will lose 40 pounds, start eating cleaner, stop smoking and drinking, recreational drugs, get sober emotionally. Sober emotionally. You can be sober physically and never be sober emotionally. We know that from the program, right?
Right.
We know that. And that's the
So
work.
true.
That's the work's work. Okay. But listen, I've got a lot of male friends, and I have a wide range of male friends. Some guys are very in tune. Some are, I love them. They're so far off the island. I'm like trying to bring them back in. Like, come on, dude, that's not a good answer. You know, telling her, take it or leave it is not usually a good way to solve an argument.
So, Dr. Polter, if you saw this book on a bookshelf, however many years ago, where you were at, what would you wish to have said to your little boy within you? How to start when you see a modern masculinity? Where do I start?
It's a really good question, because you can't talk about something passionately or emotionally and change people's lives unless it's within you. This is not a cerebral discussion. This is from the heart and soul. And men can smell it if you're talking from your heart or you're talking from your head. And my approach to this has been talk from the heart.
Or you?
Yeah, talk from your soul. Talk, because that's what men, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to connect men to men. Not our IQs. That's all well and good. But seeing that book is like, God, what does it mean to be a good guy? I wonder what this guy has to say about that. That's what I would have thought. And how to have a complete life inside of you. And take
What
care.
does it mean for a man to talk from their heart?
Talk from their heart is, they first have to learn how that language. It's a foreign language. Up until about kindergarten, first or second grade, you're taught to clean up or look after your classmates and whatnot. And those qualities are important. But I think as times evolve, men are so defined by competition. And competition, there is a place for that. But there's not a place for that when it comes to your mental health, your emotional health, your relationships. There is no competition. And that's, I think, is where a lot of men don't know how to move forward. Because if they can't have it a certain way, then they can't have it. Correct.
And we are here for you. Dr.
Right.
Polter, what are we going to walk through in the next episode?
Next episode, let's talk about the symptoms or the reasons why you want it, how to develop your masculinity, what that looks like. What's the 4 faces of that? There's 4 different faces of that. What do they look like? And we're going to talk about that. The physical aspect, the emotional, the relational. And relational also gets back into mom and dad. And then there's your plan, who you are in the world, and believing in yourself and something bigger than you. Those 4 faces are your masculinity. Those 4 parts.
And one of those is going to be a separate episode. The
Correct.
Physical, the emotional, the relationships, past, present, future, and then the belief in something bigger than yourself.
Right, and having a plan with that. Those are the 4 faces of masculinity.
Okay. And we will dive in.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Please share the episode, and please
Thank
know
you
that
so much.
we love you all, dear sons of the world. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You are not alone. If you are dealing with shame and trauma, please reach out to me through my website, nadia-davis.com. You can get a free Ban Shame tip sheet and find out about upcoming events. I'd love it if you picked up my book, Home is Within You, wherever books are sold. If you like this podcast, please tell a friend, leave a review, and make sure to follow me on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Sending warm hugs.